Welcome to the Right Brain Loves Left podcast, where we dive deep into the dynamic world of small business success. I'm your host, Regina Garay, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. Hi, everyone. How are you? Welcome to another episode of the Right Brain Loves Left podcast. Today, I am super excited because I have not only a peer, but she's also a friend of mine. Her name is Elana Gaines. The name of her company is Afternoon Creative. And welcome, Elana.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. And for the listeners, I just want to let you know that Elana and I worked together in a previous company, and I learned quite a lot from her in my own journey of marketing. And even to this day, when I write newsletters, I always think to myself, what would Elana think about this? Is this strong? Is this strong enough? Is this a good call to action? Did I say what I needed to say in as little words as possible? You taught me quite a bit about that, so thank you.
Oh, I love that. I love that story, and I'm glad that that you still think about it.
I do.
I'm flattered.
Because you always gave me great feedback, because I would send the newsletter drafts to Elana, and she'd be like, think about this, and let's try this. And I was just like, wow, that's just wonderful feedback. So thank you.
I'm glad to hear it.
All right, so we're just gonna jump straight to it. I have several questions that I've prepared in advance, and the first one is, please tell me about the journey about funding your creative design studio, Afternoon Creative, and what inspired you to start this business.
Yeah, so I come from a family of artists and designers. My grandfather was a necktie designer and manufacturer, and also a photographer. My grandmother was a textile designer. She designed hand painted wearable kimono art.
Wow.
Yeah, they were beautiful. My mom was an architect growing up, and then became a photographer, and now just got her MFA and is doing some other art things. And even like thinking about it more, my dad was also a designer of sorts, in that he designed information systems for large corporations, so tech and information systems, and so not necessarily a creative in the normal sense of the word, but still a designer. And so I think part of it is that I've always had design and creative problem solving in my blood, and wanting to do something like that. And entrepreneurship also in my blood. And part of that so my entrepreneurship journey also comes from me not liking rules. I like rules when they make sense, and when I design websites and brands for clients, they definitely 100% have rules for when things should be used and how they should be used, and I follow rules in that way because they make sense. But when I was working as an employee for other companies in-house, there were a lot of arbitrary rules for how things should be done and how projects should be managed. And I always kind of knew that I didn't want to follow anyone else's arbitrary rules, and I wanted to make my own, and that's what I'm doing. Here I am.
I love it. And even though, small business is not, I think somehow we work longer hours, as compared to like a regular job sometimes, but we have the capacity to make our own way and our own rules as you decide and kind of go. It's so funny that you say about your background, because in my family, it's art, music, and entrepreneurship. It's like a whole,
it all goes together.
It all goes together. So, all right. Tell me a little bit more about Afternoon Creative, about your business. What range of services do you offer? I know that you help small businesses enhance their brand, but tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I offer brand strategy and web design services, and so that could include a full website redesign, I go from smaller websites to larger websites. I work with primarily businesses in the art and design industry. So a lot of artists, interior designers, anyone in the home design space, builders, other small businesses like that. And I also help. So in addition to websites, I also help with a lot of the necessary brand marketing materials that help these types of businesses get their name out there, look professional, look like they're reputable and respected in the industry, and essentially help them take advantage of opportunities that are coming their way.
And I happen to love your work. If you head to Afternoon Creative, or if you see Elana's work, I always think of it as very creative, but with a very elegant kind of feel running through it. So it's kind of professional, but yet that person is inspired and does inspiring things. So I always love seeing your work, and the color palettes that you put together are always so beautiful, which is very important in branding, is those color palettes and the fonts that you put. I'm saying this because Elana did work with a client of mine, and she put together the website, and I was just like, oh my goodness. It's so beautiful. And it's just to let you know, it's Nova Color Near Me. You can see her work at novacolornearme.com. But even the logo that you created, and it's just so beautiful. I know she was so excited and still excited, and still gets great comments about that website. So
yeah, I mean, I love working with people in the art and design industry, because they also have a real appreciation for good design. And some people might think that that makes it really hard for you because it's hard for you to please, but it is. But I appreciate really good design, and I want something to be thoughtfully designed and have meaning. The design itself should have meaning for the person on the other end.
Right, and that it makes sense, and it makes sense for their target audience too.
Yeah.
So, all right. How can good design, and this is a good segue, how can good design transform a business's brand and market presence? How does that work?
Yeah. So basically, I see your brand as your brand reflects what you do, what the services that you offer. And so if you need to have a cohesive brand, a strong brand, something that represents you and the services you offer and who you're speaking to, so that you can stand out, and so that, again, you can be reputable in the marketplace. People, if they see a cohesive brand, something that doesn't look jumbled, they'll think, oh, this person has their stuff together, and they and I can trust them to do work for me, and they'll deliver, and I know what they're going to do. And all of those things are really important, especially if you're a service-based business, for your clients to feel like they know what they're going to get. And if your branding is not as cohesive, you may get some clients here and there, but they're going to be more hesitant to jump on. And so to really remove those barriers, have a cohesive brand, have a website that really speaks to your audience, says who you are, what you do, who you work with, so that they can trust you.
It's true, because if you've got, I always look at somebody's, website and their social media. If they have that cohesive look going through it, I know they've nurtured it. So to me, that, number one, speaks of professionalism. Number two, it speaks that they've been around a while and they're here to stay. They've got a more solid base. Number three, they're going to treat my project that much better because they treat their own project so importantly, in a way. So that's how I kind of see it. So
yeah, I agree.
All right. So what are some of your future goals for your studio? I know that you've offered these services. Do you have anything, new areas that you're planning on exploring?
So I think
I know there's so much. It's funny when somebody asks me that question, I'm like, where do you want to sit down, have a cup of coffee? Where do you want to
Yeah,
start?
yeah,
So,
yeah. I have I have tons of goals. I think, as I'm moving forward, so I've in the last year, really 6 months, I've transformed the way that I've been working. And so instead of offering projects over, working with multiple clients over a longer period of time, I now work with just one client at a time, in
oh, nice.
what's called an intensive process. Which means I'm able to, it shrinks the amount of time where I'm working with the client and the client's working with me, but it means I'm able to deliver more projects more efficiently and takes out a lot of the back and forth that often otherwise happens in project management.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping to, as things go forward, continue to work in this intensive style, um, and really, convert clients into this amazing way of working because the clients I've done it with so far have loved it. And it's just a really smooth experience. And then they get their website sooner. So I'm hoping to continue doing that. And then, yeah, just growing, but being really intentional about how I grow.
Yeah, I like that because you feel kind of like the center of, the star of the show while you're working with you because it's sometimes
Well, you
I
are.
sometimes if you've got somebody that is doing different things, I sometimes feel like I don't mean to bother you, but I have
Yeah.
a question, so it's a good way to go through that. All right, speaking of clients, how do you attract new clients? And if you can share maybe a strategy or two on how you build long-term relationships with those.
Uh, Yeah, so most of my clients come from referrals and networking. I go above and beyond for every project that I do. Part of it is because I'm a perfectionist and I need I need it to be perfect. But I also, I really want my clients to feel good about the product that they received. Obviously, there's an exchange of money that changes hands. It's important that they feel good about the end product. So I go above and beyond for everything that I do. And then, I follow up and make sure that they're still happy, see if they need anything else, any changes. And then just trying to network and talk to other people who are in the same industry and working in the same field. Also, I work with a lot of similar businesses or businesses who work in the same space, and so together we can complete projects. If they have, they're like, oh, I have this client who needs X, Y, and Z. Here's this,
I love that.
or I do the same thing back and forth. So it works out.
Yeah, and it's also very helpful because I know somebody comes and does a website with you, but then they learn that you can do so many other things. And so that to
Mhm.
me, I think when you have the ease of working with somebody and they know that you can understand their style, it's so much easier to continue that relationship and go, okay, so can you create these, digital products for me, or can you help me with, this or that, so I
Yeah.
always, yeah, so that's always a good thing that somebody that you work with at the very beginning, you can develop that kind of relationship with.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part for any service business is essentially getting your foot in the door with a client.
Mhm.
Because once you start providing value, you're trusted and they want to keep working with you usually. So
And that kind of segues perfectly into my next question because it's more small business based because we do have small business owners who listen to the podcast. Is what have been some of the biggest challenges you faced as a small business owner, and how did you overcome them?
yeah, so I mentioned before, I recently changed the way that I work and manage projects. So one of the biggest challenges that I faced was having, too much work, which was a good thing, but, my projects were not, I was not managing my projects in a way that worked for me. And I was noticing that, and I was noticing that the, um,
Well,
yeah, I was just noticing I was burning out.
yeah.
And it was in my heart. I noticed it. I was burning out. And so I was like, okay, how do I change things? Do I need to hire help to get all this stuff done? What do I do? And so really considered how I would hire, who I would hire. And at the end of the day, I realized that the parts of my business that I can easily hire out for are actually the parts that I want to control, which are the design um, and all the creative parts of the business, and then the parts that I'm not ready to hire out yet because I don't have them. It's not as easily to just like hand off to someone. Um, are all of the other sort of project management tasks. Um, and I didn't want to be stuck just doing all the project management tasks. That's
Ah,
not where I want to be.
why run a business
Um,
if you don't love that, what you're doing?
right. Some people do that. Some people want to do that, but that's just not what I, yeah. So anyway, I instead of hiring out because I'm like, I don't want to push the design stuff off of me. I decided to find a mentor and find a way to work differently. And so that's when I started doing this intensive style of working, which gets rid of a lot of the back and forth sort of project management,
Yeah.
and, and makes it so I still can do all the creative stuff, but lessens my workload a little bit, and allows me to see, um, what I can actually do and what I need to put off until a later date.
Yeah, and it seems like it's such a good shift for you, you know.
Yeah, it's really great for work life balance, and I can plan a vacation um and not worry that I'm gonna uh, be needed on a project or something that's been going on for months, because I already know my projects are scheduled out to start and end on a certain date.
And this is such an important, I think, thing for small business owners to learn, that if you're feeling burnt out, if it's not working for you, you just might need to take a step back and reassess how you're doing business, the processes, and how you can even just shift that, that instead of hiring people, you may just need to change your processes, and,
Yeah,
or you may need to hire people, it just depends on.
exactly. And I still might hire someone eventually, but I first want to make sure that I'm, I've ironed out all of my other kinks and need to, um, and if I hire, it will be intentionally, so that I can keep growing.
All right, so I'm going to ask you about a learning curve. What's one thing that you know now that you wish when you first started, that you wish you knew when you first started your business?
Um, well, I think a big thing, a big maybe thing for everyone, I don't know, but for me, it's not really like I didn't know it, but I had a hard time believing it or feeling it, was community over competition. And so what that really means is, um, other not seeing other similar businesses as competition, and really just seeing them as a giant network of support, where like we're all in this together. We all have a lot of the same fears and self-limiting beliefs and all these things, and instead of seeing everyone as like, oh, my competition, instead it's how can we work together and so that we can all be happier with what we're doing. So whether it's someone who's doing pretty much has pretty much the same services that I have, but is servicing a different niche, or has complementary services, or whatever it is, just finding others in the community, and leaning on them and learning from them, because we all have our own processes for doing things, and
Yes.
some things work and some things don't, and it's hard to move forward and grow when you're in a vacuum of working by yourself most days.
And we can all learn from one another. Look at
Yeah.
the great things I learned from you for newsletter writing. It's so important to have that open mind, and to just,
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I started my business, I was told to be wary of competition. And so I was. And then when I shifted it and it became a community, like, what are you doing, and what do you, and what kind of tools do you use, or what kind of resources? And there was this open kind of way of sharing it. Oh my God, it helped my business so much. So
And you realize there's so much work to go around. There's definitely no shortage of work. And so um, and there's no possible way that one person can do it all everything. So,
I
instead you just root for each other and you pass along work to each other when you can and hope
true.
that
This
at
is
the end
true.
everyone gets paid.
Because you may, at least for me, there's industries that I don't know, and I know people who do what I do, that they understand that industry
Mhm.
completely, and you're just like, I've got the perfect person for you,
Yeah.
so all right. And how does technology affect your design process, and what tools can you share, some tools that you find indispensable to us?
Yeah. So everything I do is on the computer. So I need my computer to do my work. Technology is extremely important. Everything I'm always learning about new technology. I have like a running list of different software that I need to look into to make certain things more efficient and this and that. But the things that I rely on daily are Figma, which is my design software. Um, and so I mock up all my designs in Figma before getting them online. And then I use to actually build my websites. I usually build them either with Squarespace, or I use Divi for the Divi theme for WordPress,
Mhm.
which is a visual builder, and it gives a ton of flexibility for WordPress. So that's from the design perspective, and then from just like business perspective, the foundation of my business is like Google Drive, Google Workspace. Being able to schedule emails is really important.
Oh, I love it.
So I can essentially hold boundaries with my clients, even if I'm not holding boundaries with myself, because I can be working late at night, but still email them at schedule an email to go out at 9:07, and it's within it's within business hours. And so anyway, it's just like my little secret that I tell people that all the time, but that's okay. But it's still, I think it's still people don't expect me to be responding really late at night or something, even if I actually am working at that point. Um, so those are the big foundational parts of my business. TidyCal is a good calendar scheduling app that I use on my website. I
Yeah.
think you use too.
Yeah, because it's like one lifetime fee and no monthly
Mhm.
fees. I mean,
Exactly.
can't get better
What
than
could be better?
and it's Tidy Cal, just in case the listeners
We're
didn't.
not affiliated, but maybe we should be.
I know we should contact Tidy Cal. Hey, so thank you so much for chatting
Yeah,
with
thank
me,
you.
Elana. Please tell our readers, and our listeners, our listeners and our watchers, how they can contact you and where to find you.
Yeah. So my website is afternooncreative.com. Everything is spelled the normal way. My Instagram is at afternoon_creative. And then I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. If you just search for Afternoon Creative, I'll be there. Um, or you can email me at hello@afternooncreative.com.
Thank you. And if you do have a project, or a website project or a branding project, I highly recommend Elana. So just reach out to her at the email address, or visit her and at her website, and go from there.
Thank
Alana,
you.
I
Thank you,
really,
Regina. This was great. So fun.
I always love chatting with you. I'm telling you, every single time we chat, I'm just like, when are we scheduling our next one? So I appreciate you coming by today. All right, everyone.
Yes.
Until the next one, have a great day.